That shirt is so cute. $55? Are you serious? I mean, it can't be that hard to make it, right? I do have a sewing machine, but I never use it though. Wait, there is that one YouTube channel. What it called again? Yeah. Simplement précieux. She did a video about how to sew, right? Yeah, exactly that one. Hi guys! So, you decide to click on this video and start your sewing journey? You're actually really cool for that. Sewing is such an underrated skill, like you literally turn fabric into clothes. It's insane. Now, I get it. If you never touch a sewing machine, it can feel a little bit scary. All the buttons, the noise, the thread. But I also know you're probably out here dreaming of sewing that long flowy dress that you saw on Pinterest. I see you. And that's exactly why today we're starting simple but complete with this cute boho steel bag. It is the perfect first project because you're gonna learn how to use your sewing machine, get familiar with the sewing vocabulary, a few key techniques, and you're gonna end up with something cute and wearable at the end. Plus, it will give you the confident boost to drive deeper into this whole sewing journey. So grab that fabric, plug that machine, and let's get into it. Here is a quick overview of what we are going to learn today. Let's start with putting together the perfect beginner sewing kit. First, you need a sewing machine. But don't worry, you don't need to have a fancy one. As long as your machine has a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch, you're good to go. I'm using the Singer M3500. I had it for 5 years, no problem at all. It is a great, affordable choice for beginner. Make sure your sewing machine is complete with all its essential parts. Next, you need a good pair of fabric scissors because sharp scissors would make your life so much easier. And remember, keep them for fabric use only. You will also want a separate pair of scissors to cutting paper patterns. You'll need plenty of pins for fabric. Trust me, they disappear so quickly. And you will go through a lot of them to hold your fabric pieces together. You can also get some fabric clips. They are very handy and easy to use. Have a few hand sewing needle on hand. Safety pins are super useful when you need to turn the straps of the fabric pieces inside out. An erasable fabric pins or a chalk is great for safely marking your fabric. A seam ripper, absolutely essential. Everyone uses one, even the pro. It helps you to rip your seams when you need to undo a stitches. You also want a measuring ruler, at least 30 cm. Any ruler will do, but the sewing rulers are more flexible and easier to use. Of course, a measuring tape, make sure it has both centimeter and inch. You also need a good quality thread. I recommend Gutermann. And don't forget an iron with adjustable heat settings. Finally, this one is optional, a serger, if you want that nice professional finish on your seams. Here's the perfect starting kit for sewing. Everything you need to begin any sewing project with confidence. I will add links to the materials in the description so you can easily get any things you might be missing. For this project, I'll be using a very lightweight drippy denim fabric. I recommend using a non-stretch fabric like cotton. Quilting cotton is a great choice for beginners. Since my fabric is quite light, I'll be using something called interfacing. There are many types of interfacing. Here are a few examples. This one is a fusible interfacing, which means it sticks to the fabric when you apply heat. It helps give your fabric more structures. This type gives a light structure, this one gives a medium structure, and this one adds a lot of structure. For my project, I'll be using the lightweight interfacing because my denim already have a bit of stiffness. But if you're using a simple cotton fabric like this one, I recommend using the medium weight interfacing. You will also need a lining. A lining is usually a lighter fabric that goes on the inside of your bag or your clothes. For this project, I'm using this lightweight cotton as my lining. Now that we have all the materials, let's print the pattern. I'll link the Easy Carry Bag sewing pattern in the description. You can download it for free. Here's how to print a sewing pattern. Open the pattern in Adobe Reader. Make sure to select Print Actually Size or 100% Scale. Start by printing just the first page to check that everything is printed correctly, then you can print the rest. This is how you usually print most digital sewing patterns. Start with page 1. Measure the test square using a ruler to make sure it's the right size. If it is correct, go ahead and print the rest of the pattern. Still with page 1, fold the right margin. Do the same for page 2, but not for page 3. Then, place page 1 over page 2. Align the fold edge with the left side. Match the circles and lines, then tape. Repeat the same with page 2 and 3. Then do the same step for the other rows, page 4 to 6 and page 7 to 9. Now connect the row vertically. Fold or trim the bottom edge of every row except the last one. Place the bottom edge of the first row over the top edge of the second row. Align the circle and tape. Repeat until all the rows are connected. Now your full pattern is assembled and you're ready to cut your pieces. Usually, when you're cutting your fabric, you want to follow the grain line. That's the direction of the thread in your fabric. But for this project, we don't need to worry too much about that. If you want to learn more about grain lines, I'll link my sewing tips video playlist in the description. For the bag, I'm folding my fabric in half to save time, since we need 2 identical pieces. Here are my 2 ways for cutting fabric. First way, place some weights on your pattern so it stays in place, then trace around the edges with chalk. Pin the 2 layers of the fabric together and cut along the lines you traced. Second way, pin the pattern directly to the 2 layers of fabric, then cut around the edges of the paper pattern. When cutting, it's really important to keep your scissors flat against the table. This helps you to get accurate cuts and make the process much easier, just like I'm doing here. Never cut your fabric in the air. Always keep its support on a flat surface. Here are all the pattern pieces you need for the easy carry bag. You'll need 1 front and 1 back piece from your main fabric using the same pattern. Then cut 1 front and 1 back again, but this time from your lining fabric. You also need to cut 2 of these small rectangles and 1 pocket piece from the lining fabric. As you can see, there is a pocket on the pattern. It's meant for the lining. Here's my simple method for marking the pocket placement, no fancy tools needed. Take a piece of parchment paper or tracing paper and trace the pocket shape from your pattern. Cut out the new paper shape. Then try to center it on your lining fabric. Use a chalk or an erasable pen to trace around the edges. And just like that, you mark where your pocket will go. Quick tip, If your lining has a right and a wrong side, make sure to trace the pocket on the right sides, the nice looking one. We're almost done preparing the pieces. Now it's time to add interfacing to our main fabric to give it more structures. To do this, place the rough side of the interfacing against the wrong side of your fabric. Set up your iron board and place a scrap fabric on top to protect it. Lay your main fabric piece down with the wrong side facing up. Then place the interfacing on top, rough side facing the fabric. Make sure it covers the entire surface. Gently press it with the stem for a few seconds until the fabric lightly sticks to the interfacing. This lets you lift and cut the interfacing clearly around the edges. Once it's trimmed, press it against more firmly so it fully bonds to the fabric. Then let it rest flat for about 5 minutes to cool. Great job! Now let's set up the sewing machine. First, make sure your machine is properly threaded. Most home machine has little diagram and arrow to guide you. Just follow them carefully. For a lot of projects, you mainly use two stitches, the straight stitch and the zigzag stitch. The standard stitch length is usually 2.5 millimeters. This yawl adjusts the needle position, and this one controls the upper thread tension. Unless you have tension issues, I don't recommend touching it. If needed, check YouTube for a tutorial on how to adjust it. Now check your bobbin underneath. Make sure the thread unwinds to the right. My tip is to place it so that the thread and the bobbin makes a P shape. If it looks like a Q, it is backwards. Here is a quick tension test for the bobbin. Hold the thread with the case handing down. If the bobbin drops slightly when you give a small tug like a yo-yo, the tension is good. If it drops too fast, there is not enough tension. If it doesn't move at all, it is too tight. Once everything's thread, turn the hand wheel to lower and raise the needle. This will catch the bobbin thread and bring it up. Pull both the upper and the lower thread towards the back under the presser foot. For more details, just search your machine model followed by complete threaded guide on YouTube. You find lots of help. Here's a quick sewing tip. Next to the needle plate, you'll see markings in centimeters and inches. These are seam allowance guide. Sewing straight can be tricky at first, but you can make your own seam guide at home. Just place a piece of tape at the 1 centimeter mark, then add more lines as needed. It really helps keep your stitching straight. If you've never sewn before, I highly recommend printing out these sewing practice sheets. These are simple paper templates that help you practice stitchings at different skills level. Let me show you an essential technique, that is the back stitch. This makes your seam strong and secure. To backstitch, start sewing normally to around 3 to 5 stitches. Quick reminder, always lower your presser foot before sewing or your stitching won't catch. Then press the lever with the symbol on your machine. Hold it down while the machine sews in reverse. Then release it to continue sewing forward. Don't forget to repeat the same steps at the end of your seams. These practice sheets show exactly where to start and stop for the backstitching. By completing each level, you get more comfortable with your sewing machine and build your sewing skill step by step. Are you ready to sew? Let's get started. Take your main fabric pieces, the front and the back, and place them right sides together. That means the nice sides of the fabric should be facing each other. Now, pin around the outer edges of the bag and go sew the edges. Start sewing as close as possible to the top edge using 1 cm seam allowance. Do a backstitch to secure the beginning, then sew down the side. Quick definition of a seam allowance: it is the extra space between the edge of your fabric and where you sew. It is added to the pattern so you can stitch the piece together without changing the final size of your project. For this pattern, the seam allowance is 1 cm, and for most of my pattern also. If it is ever different, I will be mentioning it in the instruction. Now you can stop sewing at the end of the side. Finish with another backstitch and trim your threads. This keeps your work clean and avoid loose threads later. Don't sew around the 90-degree angle. Now move to the bottom edge of the back and start a new seam, again with a 1 cm seam allowance. Stop at the corner, backstitch, trim your thread, and repeat for the last side. Great job! You just done your first seams. Keep it going. Now, let's take care of the corners we didn't sew earlier. Open up the fabric at the corner and align the two edges where the seams end, like I'm showing here. Make sure the seam allowance go in the opposite direction. This helps the seam lay flatter. Pinning in place. Repeat the same step on the other side. Then sew across to close both corners. And that's it, your main fabric piece is now fully assembled. You can turn it right side out and give it a good press. Pressing is what really makes a sewing project go from just okay to beautiful. It is an essential step. You see the difference right away. Now let's sew the pocket onto the lining. We'll start by finishing the edges of the pocket using either a serger or a zigzag stitch on your machine. To set up the zigzag stitch, switch to the zigzag setting. Set the stitch length to 2 millimeters and move your needles to the far edge. Or follow your machine steps to setting up zigzag mode. When sewing the zigzag, place your fabric so the needle lands once on the fabric and once over the edge, stitching into the air but really close to the edge. Hold the fabric from the front and gently put it toward the bag as you sew to avoid jam. Finish all 4 edges of the pocket this way. So you may ask, why do this? It is because many fabrics fray, and finishing the edges with a zigzag or a serger prevent that, while also giving your project a clean, professional look. Now that the edges are finished, we folded the seam allowance. Use the pattern as a guide. Fold 3 sides in by 1 cm and the top edge by 1.5 cm. Mark all 4 sides, then press with an iron so everything stays flat and aligned. Next, sew along the top edge, the one with a 1.5 cm fold, with a straight stitch, 1 cm from the edge. Don't forget to set your machine back to straight stitch mode. Make sure the right side of the pocket is facing up. You can now place the pocket on the spot you traced earlier on the lining. If the pocket seems slightly smaller, that's okay. Like mine, you may have lost a few millimeters when you finish the edges. Just center it neatly. Pin the 2 sides and the bottom of the pocket to the lining. To attach it, we'll use a top stitch. It is a straight stitch sewn very close to the edge, about 0.25 cm. Before top stitching, don't forget to switch back to a straight stitch setting with a 2.5 mm length. Start with a back stitch, sew around the 3 edges, and finish with another back stitch. Quick tip, when you reach a corner while sewing like this pocket, here's how to keep your seam straight. Stop at the end of your line, lower the needle into the fabric using the hand wheel, lift the presser foot, pivot the fabric to align with the next edge, then lower the foot again and keep sewing. This helps your corners stay clean and precise. And that's it, you just sewn your first pocket. Well done, you're doing amazing. You can now erase any remaining sharp or pen marks. Now it is time to assemble the lining. The steps are the same as for the main fabric. Take the piece with the pocket and place it right sides together with the second lining piece. This time, pin only the left and the right sides. Sew both sides with a 1 cm seam allowance. For the bottom edge, we'll leave a 10 cm opening, so we can turn the back right side out later. Mark the opening on the fabric. That's the section you won't sew. Start your stitching as usual from one end. And stop at your first mark. Backstitch to secure. Then skip the opening and start again from the second mark, sewing to the other end. Now you should have a small opening. Next, just like we did with the main fabric, open up the corner, match the seams, pin them, and sew across to close the corners. And that's it! The lining is now assembled. The bag is really starting to take shape. Now, let's attach the lining to the main fabric. Take your lining and insert the main fabric inside it. Make sure the lining is inside out. The visible seam should be facing you. Tuck the main fabric bag all the way in and line up the edges carefully. Pin all the way around, but don't pin or sew across the very top of the straps. Make sure everything is well aligned, then sew all around the top edge with a 1 cm seam allowance. Quick tip, if sewing around curves feels tricky, you can rotate the fabric so the curve runs vertically. Keep the edge flat and go slowly, it really helps. Once you've sewn around the edge, repeat the same for the other side of the bag. Yeah, you attached the lining! Before turning the bag right side out, let's clip the seam allowance around the curves. This helps the curves sit nicely and avoid bulky or wrinkled seam. Use your scissors and snip close to the seam. Be careful to not cut through it. Do this on both curved sides. Now, use the 10 cm opening we left in the lining to pull the entire bag through. Don't forget to turn the stripe right side out too. Before inserting the lining into the bag, let's close up the opening. Tuck the seam allowance inside, pin the opening, and top stitch as close to the edge as possible to close it, just like before. Now you can place the lining inside the bag. If your fabric is a little bit wrinkled, give a quick press first. It's really coming together. Let's now press the top edge of the bag. Make sure the lining doesn't peek out from the main fabric side. For a clean finish and to hold everything in place, we'll add another top stitch. I did mine at 0.5 cm from the edge. Don't forget to backstitch at the start and end. Repeat the top stitch on the other side. Now, to finish the straps, turn the straps so the main fabric are facing each other. Make sure they not twist and both straps are turned in opposite direction. Line them up and sew across with a 1 cm seam allowance. To clean up the seam, use a zigzag stitch or a serger. Give the straps a good final press, and that is it! The easy carry bag can now be done. But to hide the strap seam and give it a clean finish, we're going to use the small rectangle piece. Take the rectangles and place it right sides together. Pin along the long edges and sew them together. Now, I will show you how to turn the fabric tube inside out using a safety pin. Start by pinning 1 layer of fabric with the safety pin. Insert the pin into the tube and bunch up the fabric around it. Then, hold the pin firmly and gently pull the fabric through. Watch what I'm doing here, it is easier to understand visually. Once the rectangle is fully turned right side out, give it a good press. Next, fold the bag strap in half and wrap the rectangle around the seam to cover it. Pin it in place, then sew around the bottom edge with a 0.5 cm seam allowance. Finish the edge with a zigzag stitch or serger. Finally, flip the rectangle down to hide the seam completely. And that's it! One last little detail, if you want to add a bow on top, just take a long strip of fabric no wider than 4 cm and tie it up into a bow at the top of your strap cover. Bravo! You just completed your very first sewing project. You now have a solid foundation and you're ready to start creating clothes you truly love. If you're looking for more sewing projects that are stylish, unique, and easy to make, feel free to check out my other videos. You are building a wardrobe you truly love, one great project at a time, and honestly, you're that girl.